Hey guys. Okay, so I told you I was gonna come back and talk about something that happened in our student ministry, which was very interesting. And um, yeah, okay, so a couple of weeks ago, I was rocking out one of my 49er shirts, and one of my students started making fun of me. Now, I live in rural Virginia. He's a Redskins fan. Whatever. Like, anyways, not a fan. Mm. Okay, so he was making fun of my 49er shirt, and I was like, whatever. We just signed Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, shut your mouth, right? So, and he's like, well, we got Alex Smith. I hate Alex Smith. Like, I know I'm a youth pastor. I'm supposed to love everyone, but I can't freaking stand him. Okay, so a Snapchat went kind of viral between our kids of me, like, in this kid's face, like, clapping at him about football. Totally fine. It was hilarious. At least I thought it was. But here's the thing that happened after that. He is a light-skinned African American boy raised in a white conservative household. His best friend is also a light-skinned African American, but he is raised in a African American household. So when we were playing back and forth, he said he always tries to one up people, and he said, "Ooh, Ariel, I got one for you." And he knelt down and did like the Colin Kaepernick kneel. And he was like, "Am I right? Am I right, Jake?" And went to go like high five this other kid. And the other kid looked at him and said, "Man, he did that for you. Don't you get it? Like, it's for you. It's so that people realize, like, you're looked at different." And the kid backed off, took his high five down, and said, "Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, my bad, my bad, my bad," and walked away. The interesting thing is, I didn't have to say anything. And I'm a 49er fan, and I own a Kaepernick jersey. But I also lived in the Deep South. And when I say Deep South, I'm talking 30 minutes from the Florida line, an hour from Alabama, 2 hours from Jacksonville, Florida, in the great state of Georgia. There was a black part of town. There was a Hispanic part of town. There was a white part of town. The pastor that lived across the street from me told me that my house value was going to go down because some military veterans moved across. I lived on a corner. He lived here. They lived across this street. Told me that my house value was going to go down because these military veterans moved in. They were African American, and that's why he said that. I said, and so when he said that, I said, "You mean the military veterans that one of them lost his arm in Iraq? Like that guy? My house value is not going to go down because that guy moved in. Have you had a barbecue with them yet? Because we have." That place is also the same place that one person told my mother-in-law, "Man, your daughter-in-law is not from here, is she?" And she said, "Well, no, she's from Virginia. Why?" And he said, "Because she was the first white woman to ever look me in my eye here. Houston, we have a problem." And then I went to my husband's work, and I was talking to one of the African American guys outside, and he asked him later, like, "Where's your wife from? Because she is not from here. Because white women don't talk to black men." What? Okay, so I have rocked my Kaepernick jersey. I now have a Jimmy Garoppolo jersey, so I will no longer be rocking my Kaepernick jersey, and not because of what happened, but because I'm a 49er fan. He's no longer on the team. But it was interesting to see this racial, not really even argument, but racial discussion between two people who call themselves the light skins it was interesting to see the way they handled it. And it was interesting to see, because of who is raised in what type of household, how they see the whole Colin Kaepernick thing. I was able to stand up and say, I rock my Kaepernick jersey because I want every kid in our ministry. I don't care if they're white. I don't care if they're light skinned, as they want to call themselves. I don't care if they're mixed, if they're African American, if they're Hispanic. We have a lot of Hispanics around here as well. I don't care. I want them to know that they are loved and they are appreciated, and I might be the youth and children's pastor of a Baptist church, but I stand for equality. And people here where we live now had a really hard time seeing the Colin Kaepernick thing as an issue, because their best friends are black. They work with black people. They're paid the same as the others. But when you look at it in the form of the Deep South, where they had never had a white woman look them in the eye, then there is a problem. There's a massive problem. Watching it come out of the mouths of my teenagers was very interesting. And then watching the white girls in our youth ministry notice and not say anything, but just notice. And then later they said, oh my gosh, what about so-and-so's reaction to so-and-so when he said the Kaepernick thing? And, it's interesting to me because the kid raised in the white household had never thought about it. Had never thought about, oh, that's because of me. This did not, I did not mean for this to become political and racial or whatever. But I wanted to tell you, our kids are still talking about that. And maybe they're not in your youth group, and maybe it's because I'm a 49er fan. That's why they're still talking about it. Because we had just gotten back from San Francisco, so I was repping my new stuff. But anyway, so maybe you don't have this issue, but the cool thing is now my kids know they can talk about it. And so you can open it up even in a hangout time. These subjects can be brought up without it being weird. But I'm not going to teach my kids that racism is in the Bible. And no joke, in South Georgia, a youth pastor came to our youth pastor support group that we met every Thursday morning for coffee, because everybody did Wednesday night youth, which means everybody was exhausted on Thursday mornings. But the thing is, he came and he said, well, how do you, we're getting a lot of different races, and how do you deal with interracial dating? Everybody looked at me, and I looked at him and I said, well, what do you mean? Because I did not want to say the wrong thing. And he said, well, how do you deal with it? Because in the Bible says interracial dating is wrong. My Bible don't say that. So I brought up the fact. I just looked at the guy and I said, look. I said, you do realize Abraham and his wife were different colors, right? They were not, they would not have been considered the same race. And he looked at me like I was an idiot. And for that to come out of, please remember, the first person that I talked about was the white Methodist pastor across the street from me when I had black neighbors. And the second was a youth pastor who was teaching his kids that there is a racial divide. That is the South, like the deep South. And that's not okay. And I know not all youth pastors, not all pastors think that way in the South, but please know when I talk to my kids, like, and just hanging out, when I'm hanging out with my kids, like we're not, we're not gonna discuss racism as it doesn't exist, because it is thriving in the South. And they say that it's not, but it is. And when we moved here into this place, and we joke that it's kind of like Mayberry, but black people, white people, Hispanic people all live together. Hispanic people live across the street from me. Black people live down the street from me. Nobody lives on that side of me, please no. Like, nobody lives over there. It's woods. But everybody lives together. And that's so different than how it was when we lived in South Georgia. The racial divide killed me. And almost broke me. But it didn't. And so when you're talking to your kids, like, and I tell the parents, like, when they ask questions, because we have some dads who have said to me, well, I won't let her date black kids. Well, I mean, she can date this one and this one, but, you know, I don't want her to date black people. And because he qualified his thing by saying, well, she can date this one and this one, he's really, that dad is really not racist. He actually, it deals more with attitudes and socioeconomic statuses than it does race. And so there are still some people in our small town southern community that we live in now that are racist. Like, it doesn't matter who they are. But at the same time, most of our people are not racist. They are I don't even know how to put it. But they are prejudiced against people that are either in a lower socioeconomic status as they are. Or it might not be that. It might be the person's demeanor. Like, they don't want them to be with someone super ghetto. Well, that could be a white person. That could be a Hispanic person. That could be a black person in our area. It doesn't mean that they are going to be, you know, just African American. And so this dad would not allow this daughter to date any of those people. Not just white people. But he said it in a racial way. But when he did the qualifiers, I pushed back and I was like, so does that mean, what about this boy who is kind of a ghetto white boy? And he was like, oh no, not him either. And so we talked about it and he was like, oh, you're right. It's not a race thing for me. Like, it might have been a race thing for my dad or for my grandpa, but it's not a race thing for me. It's a person thing. And so we're breaking boundaries here. It's much easier here though, because they work alongside of African Americans. They live alongside of African Americans and Hispanics. And they work alongside Hispanics and they go to school together and the kids play sports together. Whereas in South Georgia, they didn't live beside each other. They didn't hang out with one another on the weekends. Their kids didn't play travel ball together. Those things didn't happen. So, have the conversations at the games with your parents. Have the conversations with your teenagers about race and racial injustice. And also have conversations about feminism. Have conversations about about how women get treated. I said I'm a 49er fan, and Reuben Foster has been arrested for domestic violence, and he spent a night in jail. We were listening to a podcast last night, and the guy said, if you touch a woman, you should be dismissed from the NFL. Reuben Foster's from Atlanta. No, sorry, Alabama. And I looked at my husband and I said, he's from the South, right? My husband said, yeah. I said, so when he was throwing his girlfriend out of his apartment, was she like beating him up first? And he looked at me, he was like, why would you say that? And my thought was, because a lot of times in the South, we have women that will run their mouth a little bit more than like other people. And I could see a man throwing, even sometimes in my life, throwing my stuff out. And me saying, oh no, you can't do that. I mean, please know this never happened. But me thinking, oh, you can't throw my stuff out. And him trying to lead me out the door with my stuff. And me going, oh, heck to the no. And fighting him. And so I could see like her call domestic violence and him be like pushing her out the door. And that's different to me. Now, I don't know how it went down. But at the same time, we need to teach our students things like that can't happen. You cannot allow things like that to happen in your life. Domestic violence, racism, those are things that, feminism, those are things that we have to talk to our students about. We have to have those hard conversations. But most of the time, we don't need to have them from the pulpit yelling at them. We need to have them one-on-one with our kids. And that all comes through discipleship. And that all comes through having a relationship with those kids. So this was totally something I didn't expect to talk about. But I knew that I needed to share with you the story of the Colin Kaepernick thing with my kids, because it was really interesting to watch it go down between two people of the same color, but one being raised in a conservative household and one being raised in a liberal household. So, I hope you have a great day. I hope you got a little something from this. I felt like I was kind of rambling at some points, but sorry. All right. Talk to you later. Bye.